Hey, seventh graders, welcome back to another day of e-learning. Today is our last day of World War II. We're going to go over the results and consequences. It'll only take a few minutes to wrap up World War II, looking at the social, political, and economic consequences that kind of foreshadow our next unit, which is going to be the Cold War. Then I'm going to have you, normally we would take a quiz at the end of this unit, and we would do a Kahoot review with that as well. So I'm going to have you do that Kahoot review. Unfortunately, you're only going to be able to play it by yourself, but you can get a sense of almost like a little quiz, kind of test your knowledge of World War II. It's not going to count as a grade, so you don't have to worry about how well you do on it, but do your best and try to do well on it. Mr. Nemix, bad joke of the day. Why was the king only a foot tall? Because he was a ruler. Enjoy some learning. Now let's talk about the results of World War II. First, let's focus on Germany. We know that Germany was to blame for World War I, and certainly they are to blame for World War II with Japan as well, and of course Italy. But how do we make sure that Germany never again rises to power? And this is what the Allies are most concerned with. So what they do is they take Germany, and if you look at the center top picture on the slideshow, they're going to take Germany and they're going to divide it into 4 different sectors. A British sector in green, a Soviet sector in red, the American sector in orange, and the French sector in blue. And each of those countries will be in charge of that sector. Their job, again, is to oversee Germany to make sure that Germany never again rises to power. Another way to make sure that this never happens again is they get rid of the League of Nations, which was mainly comprised of European countries, and they replace it with the United Nations. Eventually, almost every country in the world will become a part of the United Nations, and their job is to ensure peace in the world. Unfortunately, we know that there were many casualties. Estimates between 50 and 60 million people die. 11 million people from the Holocaust, civilians, soldiers, the most devastating death toll of any previous conflict, 5 times as great as World War I. We know that the United States created an atomic bomb and that the Soviet Union, we find, was not far behind. They also will create an atomic bomb. And this will lead to the dawn of the nuclear age. And this gets into our next unit, which is the Cold War, when the United States and the Soviet Union evolve as superpowers, by far the 2 most powerful countries in the world. So socially, we said 50 to 60 million deaths, 292,000 in the United States. So in the whole grand scheme of things, considering how involved the United States was, their death toll is minimal compared to Russia, who, just like in World War I, will lose the most amount of troops. Politically, the Allies defeat the Axis powers. Many countries will get their freedom after World War II. The Philippines were part of the United States. The United States will finally grant them their independence. There will be a major shift in world influence, with, again, the United States and the Soviet Union becoming the 2 most powerful countries in the world. And the foreign policy of the United States. After World War I, the United States went back to a policy of isolationism, where they said, we are not going to be involved in the world affairs. We are going to be isolated. After World War II, that will drastically change, and that foreign policy will become the foreign policy that the United States still has today, to be involved with the rest of the world. On the positive side, World War II ends the Great Depression. But at what cost? $4 trillion. The U.S. will at this point be, without question, the #1 economy in the world. And those are your main consequences and results of World War II. All right, now you're going to go ahead and take the Kahoot So all you have to do is click on the link to Kahoot, click on that Kahoot link, and that will immediately take you to the Kahoot. And like I said, unfortunately, you'll be playing that Kahoot by yourself, but you will get a sense of it'll go over the right answers. You can see your score, see how well you do, and hopefully you are an expert on World War II. We will find out. If you have any questions, email me.